that that idea that someday everything, all currency, will be Bitcoin? Sure, it's possible. Holy moly, it'll take a long time for that to happen. And could there be other things that are better, faster, cheaper? Like, are stable coins better for that purpose? Kinda, yeah. I mean, but there is a point also where Bitcoin could be so mature that the price doesn't move.
Hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Yusko discusses Bitcoin and crypto. The US spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds have had an outstanding performance this week. On Tuesday, they achieved a remarkable record of over $88. There were significant inflows of $44,881 million on Wednesday, following the second highest daily inflows record since their launch in January. Wednesday saw the continuation of a remarkable streak in the funds, with 17 consecutive trading days of inflows. This surpassed the previous record set in February. The trend continued on Thursday, with another day of positive inflows for the ETFs, making it their 18th consecutive day of net inflows. The 11 funds generated a total of $27.78 million in inflows, which is quite impressive. ROC's IBIT once again demonstrating its supremacy. IBIT reported an impressive $350 million in net inflows, while Fidelity's FBTC and VanEck HODL ETF also saw positive numbers. However, it is important to mention that 5-spot Bitcoin ETFs, including Invesco Galaxy's BTCO, did not experience any inflows. On the other hand, ARK Invest AR RKB and Grayscale's GBTC recorded net outflows of $96.6 million and $37.5 million respectively in just 5 months. During a recent discussion with Gary Cardone, it was revealed that the 11 US spot Bitcoin ETFs have gathered a significant amount of $15.56 billion in net inflows. Morgan Creek Capital founder and CIO Yusko emphasizes the significance of spot Bitcoin ETFs and highlights their impact on Bitcoin prices. The upcoming 12 months are expected to be quite thrilling, as institutional investors are anticipated to eagerly embrace Bitcoin through ETFs, resulting in a surge of interest. And lots of things Yusko discusses, so please watch the video to end, and share this video, and subscribe our channel, Everyday Finance. Thanks.
Correct. We know there are 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis.
Right.
That's plenty, right? That's plenty for everybody. And there's no question in my mind, right, that everyone from, I use the example of my granddaughter, right? My granddaughter's 1, and she's a Gen A, a Zoomer, right? So she'll never have a leather wallet.
Never. She'll never have a
right? She will never touch paper money.
Never.
Because by the time she's able to open up a bank account, which used to be a rite of passage as a teenager, she won't do that. She'll just have a wallet, a digital wallet with digital money. And is it possible that every microtransaction she does for the rest of her life will be in Bitcoin? Sure. But it's a small amount of the total number of Satoshis that'll just constantly swirl. The rest will be what it is, the perfect savings technology. So I have my savings bucket of Bitcoin, but I could have a small amount. Today it's fiat, but it's not even fiat. Today it's entries in a database at Visa or MasterCard. I use MasterCard. So that idea that someday everything, all currency, will be Bitcoin? Sure, it's possible. Holy moly, it'll take a long time for that to happen. And could there be other things that are better, faster, cheaper? Like, are stable coins better for that purpose? Kinda, yeah. I mean, but there is a point also where Bitcoin could be so mature that the price doesn't move.
Yeah, that's right.
Right now, all the people who are buying it to get rich would say, no, price has number go up. I need number go up. No, what you need is value of the network to rise and your ownership stake increases in value. There's so many, again, it's back to semantics. What is money? And we can talk about it, right? Okay. Gold is money. Money is an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. Yep. That's gold. Okay. That's not debt. That's not currency. Now, we talk about currency, dollars, yen, euros, as money. They're really not. They're currencies. And that doesn't make them bad, less good or worse. It's just they're different. Currencies are the things that we use as medium of exchange, not as a store of value. Money has been a store of value, true money, great gold for 5,000 years. And that's easy to prove. It's one of my favorite things about gold, right? Is a single ounce. If you have a 1 ounce coin in your possession at any point in the last 5,000 years, you could exchange it for the equivalent of a fine person's suit. Wait, hold on a second. You mean 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago? Today, you get the same thing for that 1 ounce? That's kind of freaky if you think about it. I mean, it's amazing. And yet, all over that period, currencies have come and gone, right? I mean, there was a time, people forget, there was a time.
The approval of United States spot Ethereum exchange traded funds will depend on the speed at which issuers can act. In response to comments from the Securities and Exchange Commission, Chairman Gary Gensler's remarks suggest that the responsibility for approvals lies with issuers. This indicates that the SEC will not unnecessarily prolong the process, alleviating concerns. On May 23rd, the SEC approved 819 filings for listing spot Ethereum ETFs on different U.S. exchanges. However, trading cannot commence until the required S-1 registration statement approvals are obtained. These registrants are encouraged to be responsive to the comments they receive, but the level of responsiveness ultimately depends on their own discretion, as stated. In a report from June 6th, Gensler's comments provide new insights. This comes after his previous remarks on CNBC, where he mentioned that the next steps would require some time. Some speculate that this indicates the Commission will take their time approving the S-1 forms. In a previous statement, Bloomberg ETF analyst Erid Palinis mentioned that the process could take weeks or months. However, he has now predicted the first week of July as the most likely time frame. The SEC has not provided an explanation for its apparent change in stance on the spot Ethereum ETF just days before the decision deadline. Gensler hinted to RERs that this decision may have been influenced by Grayscale's legal challenge against the Bitcoin ETF last year. Grayscale successfully argued in court that since the SEC had approved the Bitcoin Futures ETF, there should be no reason to deny the spot Bitcoin ETF, which played a significant role in their approval. Gensler spoke to readers about the Ethereum case, noting that the SEC staff thoroughly examined the Ethereum filings and analyzed the correlations, which were found to be quite similar to those in the Bitcoin space. Let's get back to Mark Yusko interview.
And basically, you could take it anywhere in the world and people would accept it. And that was the first time that had ever happened. And then the Portuguese, this is the part that and Portugal's not big, right? It's like New Jersey, okay? Portugal then had a currency, which was the world reserve currency, for a period of time until the Spanish took them over, and then the Dutch.
I didn't realize that Portuguese. I did not realize that.
Oh yeah, from 1492 till like 1530 or 1560, something like that, the Portuguese ruled the world. I mean, they literally ruled the world. And then the Spanish Armada conquered them. And the interesting reason, people hate when I tell a story, but I like it. The reason the Portuguese were in charge, one, the Knights Templar were really badasses, but more importantly, they had the tallest trees. Therefore, their ships were the fastest.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Navy was the best. And so they had naval superiority. So when Spain conquered them, they had the fastest ships. And then the Dutch, because they invented central banks, printed money, created a mercenary force. And again, Netherlands is about the size of Ohio. They took over the Spanish Armada, which was, I mean, we're talking the badasses of all badasses. And now they were in charge. Well, then they had the fast ships. Well, then the British, with their central bank, bought steamships. And once you had steamships, you had naval superiority. So then they took over. Well, then we got nuclear power, and now we are in charge. And now the next gen, two schools of thought. One is, well, China figured out that the next war isn't kinetic ground war, it's chips, not ships. So they don't need aircraft carriers. They need cyber superiority, which they probably have. And TikTok's a great example, right? And so they could be the next reserve currency, or we could flip to the next gen, which is Bitcoin. So the tech kind of truncates this, nation state being in charge. And to me, it's a coin flip as to which one. I don't really care, because I'd be perfectly happy if the renminbi had a stint. But ultimately, I do think that Murray Stahl was right. You should get Murray on sometime and interview him. He's amazing, from Horizon Kinetics. And it's funny that we just released in the 13Fs that he has. So he runs this from Horizon Kinetics, and they have 14% of client assets in the Bitcoin ETFs. And he's been in Bitcoin for a decade. He was super early. He's one of the biggest miners in the country. I mean, I would say he's the only person I know who makes me sound bearish about Bitcoin. Like, I mean, he just thinks it literally is going to be the only currency in the world, and that reverse Gresham's law will happen. And normally Gresham's law says bad money crowds out good. And that's why monies disappear, right? 775 paper currencies in the history of the world, 3/4 of them disappeared because Gresham's law says the bad money crowds out the good and then disappears, goes to zero. He says, no, this is going to be reverse Gresham's law, that the good money will eventually crowd out all the bad money. And then you can go down the path of, well, then what about nation states? And this is, Balaji's whole thing about, well, maybe we go to a stateless world, right? Maybe the metaverse is more real than we think. And then when you just pull that thread, it's like, why do nation states exist anyway?
Right.
Because a bunch of guys in a room drew lines on maps.
That's right.
I mean, that's really what happened.
Prior to the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs in January, USO made a prediction that these ETFs would generate a staggering $300 billion in investments. In the first year after launch, the figure represents only 1% of the advised wealth worth $30 trillion. According to Yusko's estimates, the fund should have accumulated assets under management ranging from 100 to 120 billion by now. However, there is a significant obstacle preventing the floodgate from opening. Wirehouses have yet to add support for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Nevertheless, issuers such as ARK Invest's Cathie Wood and Bitwise's Matt Hugan have explained that these platforms are taking their time to thoroughly evaluate the situation before jumping on board. They believe that each of the 4 largest wirehouse brokerage firms, including Morgan Stanley, will eventually join in. Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, UBS, and Wells Fargo are expected to list the products in the future. Eric Balunis, a senior Bloomberg ETF analyst, provides valuable insight into the biggest owners of ETFs in a recent tweet. He emphasizes the importance of being included in advisory platforms and models like Merrill Morgan, as it is considered the holy grail of ETF marketing. Balunis supports his statement with a chart displaying the largest holders of ETFs. BlackRock is ranked 7th, following Bank of America. When considering Morgan Stanley JP, Morgan, Wells Fargo, and even Yusko, it is evident that expectations will be exceeded once these platforms incorporate spot Bitcoin ETFs. If you learned something from this video, then please like this video and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance, and we will meet in next video. Thanks.